So we're back in the hallway training for kettlebells. I had a low back injury for a few weeks that took me out of the game, but now I am back to normal. How many times I'm going to say that during this video? I've decided to start training kettlebells again because whenever I neglect doing them, I tend to injure my low back like I did and took myself out for 3 weeks. And so now I'm integrating them fully with a program that I've been working on, combining a lot of influences from Brian Alzer's mass building program, which I used years ago. He's a strongman coach. Really interesting programming ideas. And I remember using this with basically a more standard barbell format as a way to kind of rebuild strength and muscle mass after a long period away from training. And then I'm also taking some inspiration from Joe Daniels' kettlebell only muscle gain, because that is more kettlebell specific, and he has a lot of great ideas about how to program kettlebells. And so today what I'm doing is I am basically doing a test day where I'm establishing my 10 rep maxes for the workout. The workouts that I'm going to be doing 3 workouts. I'm just calling them A, B, and C. I'm basically establishing 10 rep maxes for the compound lifts, the most important lifts. And accessory work, I just kind of am doing it by feel that day. That's how I've always approached it. I'm going to probably be pretty cautious with the weights. It's been a while since I've trained kettlebells consistently. I've only been focusing on body weight for a long time. I'm just going to kind of see where I end up. My back is mostly better, but not 100%. It still feels a little weird. But so far, I think as long as I keep the weights relatively conservative, I should be able to do it. The reason I'm establishing a 10 rep max is that kettlebells are kind of hard to establish 1 rep max with, and it's not very practical because I'm always going to be training at sub-maximal loads anyways. So 10 rep max is a little bit safer for my low back and much more realistic for establishing a baseline. Again, a lot of this is kind of lifted from Brian Alzer's programming, but that is a free program posted on YouTube, which I will post a link to as well for reference. I just need to go ahead and get started and kind of see where I'm at. So one of the things I'm doing in order to compensate for the kettlebells being lighter is I'm incorporating a lot of unilateral work, because then by using only one limb, I can basically compensate for using lighter loads. It ends up being a similar amount of resistance actually being applied to the areas I want to work. You can tell I haven't used these in a long time because I'm already gassed. Eventually I'll be using a deficit on the shrimp squat, but I am still ordering a light cardio step to kind of elevate my feet on. But I think this will be close enough to get an idea. This last few reps were shaky, so I'm just going to call this my 10 rep max for now. And then obviously I'll add over time and then retest at the end of the training cycle. So those are deficit shrimp squats. Those felt pretty good. That's going to be kind of one of my main strength focused movements. I'm also doing single leg glute bridges for glute focused days, and then single leg RDLs to kind of cover the big 3 in terms of mass and strength building movements. So I'm trying to basically avoid using barbells altogether because I want to train at home again. And my back is much happier doing this and much stronger and healthier for everything else I want to do. As far as like lower body and hip strength goes, I'm more than strong enough to do much heavier sumo deadlifts than I have in the past. But for now, I'm sticking with the 20 kilograms because one, I need to rebuild mobility. I can feel my hips and hamstrings and glutes are a little bit too tight, and so I want to rebuild that on a lighter weight. Two, my conditioning is terrible, obviously, because I've been detrained for a month. And then three, I just want to make sure that I'm accommodating for my weakest link, which is my low back and core in this time. So I'm just going to build it around then, and eventually I'll get heavy enough that my legs start to be more stimulated. The last thing I'm working on is the snatch. So far my interior chain was pretty strong based on my shrimp squat. My posterior chain is definitely lacking. Now I'm going to see kind of where my lateral chain holds up. So this is a good first test day. I didn't even think about how I kind of was hitting all three chains, but it is a pretty good test of overall strength and kind of shows me where my weaknesses lie. So I'm using 30 pound for this. Once again, kind of stiff. This is not as fluid as it generally is. And once again, I'm also being a little cautious with my low back. This feels pretty good, but I'll see how the other side goes. I think that's about 10. I can definitely handle 10 on this side, which is more what the test day is for. Interestingly, my arm got fatigued, but the rest of me didn't. So I guess I'm just not used to these anymore. Okay, this feels a little bit weirder. The rotation isn't as seamless, you can kind of tell. I'm sort of throwing my hip into it more. The low back was injured on the left side, so that makes sense. That's it for the first test day. I'll do 2 more. Then next week I'll get started on the main thing, see if I can handle the workload I've set out for myself.